Oh yes,
Yeah.
because of the 3, 2, 1. Yeah.
Like our very first interaction for my consultant stuff.
Yeah. Well, we had to figure out how it would work, so it's easier for me to edit because I can just go to, hey, there's that spot, because
Oh yeah.
it gives space to. Yeah, it was logical and stuff like that. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is my guest, Sarah Ostapchuk. She's my co-host on the myconsultant.ca show. She's had to put up with me for weeks on end.
You can't get rid of me.
Yeah, I can't. I can't, apparently. So I've tried. Oh, I've tried, but no.
Okay, don't worry, because I'm not going to be so long. Damn.
I told you, I'm not. This is me just being me on this show. I can have fun with you. And here's the thing, folks. She tortures me with baked goods all the time. She'll tell me, hey, Josh, look what I made. And I'll just see this giant pile of like sweet goods. Like, I can't eat this stuff. Why are you doing it?
In my defense, I thought we were closer geographically than we are. I was like, oh, you're a province over. You can come to my Christmas party and have my cupcake.
Yeah.
But no, you're pretty west.
Well, you're not outside of the drive, but it's a bit of a jaunt. It's a bit of a jaunt.
It's a trip, yeah.
Yeah, it's a jaunt. I'd have to come crash it at, like, maybe when we get to the next phase, when you're probably going to be my boss. It's on some level. You'll be like, Josh, you can't do this. It's like, why can't I do this? This is fun.
Then you have to come to my Christmas parties.
Yeah, I know, totally. Absolutely. The next one. No matter what happens, we're not going to talk too much about what's going on right this minute, but the craziness will come to a bit of an end, I think, in some form or fashion. I think it's going to be a lot more possible for people to mingle and interact with each other. And, so I'll definitely be doing a little bit more. I'm hoping to do a little bit more traveling by the end of the year, but not that this pandemic has stopped me. But so I should ask this, because this is actually intriguing to me. You mentioned this to me privately, so we'll talk about this. So you ended up. Why did you apply for this particular job?
Actually, the way I came across it is kind of cool. I discovered this like U of T alumni job board, like special job board. I was just about to end my maternity leave and I needed something, and I stumbled across it and I was like, this sounds really cool, even though like I don't really have filming experience pretty much of any kind. I've never filmed or anything. I've done some journalistic work, but all just, like written stuff and fairly academic, but it sounded cool. And it sounded like something I could do while still doing the mom thing. But what's funny is that I thought I was going to do it alone, and that was the selling point for me.
Me too. Yeah, like
so weird.
Well, I'll just tell you, for me, it was an interesting challenge. As you see, I'm very, like, you've worked with me. I openly don't give a shit. Like, the things we talk about off camera, folks, is hilarious. There's a
career ending.
Yeah, there's a special province that she loves with all her heart, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Gosh. All her heart. You feel it every time she talks about it. But that all said, the idea for me was, okay, I've done this show, and I enjoyed the show. I mean, I wouldn't be at episode 728 if I didn't enjoy this show. But I wouldn't. How do I put this? I wanted to see if I could do a different kind of show to see
it's a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I didn't have any background in immigration or anything like that, but it sounded like an interesting topic and something I wouldn't mind like having a career in later, maybe. So I honestly didn't think I was going to get the job. I knew I was overqualified in terms of like educational background, but like based on what they were asking for content and, like I didn't know at all like what level of production quality they wanted. I didn't even own a camera. So anyway, I was surprised when I got the job.
Yeah, and then suddenly we're like, hey, I thought you're gonna have a co-host. I'm like, I'm gonna have a co-host. And you probably had the same. I was like, you're gonna have a co-host.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the craziest thing to me. How do you not mention that in the job description? Whatever. It worked out, so it's
No,
fine.
no, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we definitely had some ups and downs, but it was biggest adjustment for me because again, I've done a lot of these shows.
Mhm.
Getting to work with somebody else, like getting
Yeah.
used to that, it was weird for me, especially for the first few, because it's like I got these ideas. Wait,
Mhm.
it's not. And again, and one of the things I took in with this too, because I realized I was working for a company, was I knew this wasn't my show. Like I was building it, but it's not mine. It's
Mhm.
theirs. And I that's why, like I said, I will fight for certain things for the sake of the show,
Yeah.
but I won't disagree with any of their decisions, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because again, it's not my show. I'm okay. Their content can be whatever they want it to be. They're paying me to do it. And that's how I looked at it, right? Right.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is mine. I'm going to claim this in the name of
Yeah.
Sarah.
Oh, yeah. I was yeah. I literally found out about you, like, a second before I met you. I remember you started before me, which you probably were formulating ideas already in your head, and then, here I come, and we were like I think it was, like, Monica and Andrew and you and me. I don't know if Fiona was there, but anyway, they're like, "Oh, by the way, time to meet your co-host." And I'm like, "Hmm?" And they're
Yeah.
like, "This is Josh." And I'm like, "What's a Josh? Why is he here?"
So
I had hardcore resting bitch face. I was like, "Hi.
I hate you. Die.
Why are you
But
here?"
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I actually knew a co-host was coming in 2 days, like the week I started.
Oh, okay.
So not until I didn't know who you were,
Mhm.
because I was like, so when I had so my ideas for the show kind of just went, okay, I put it to the back burner, because I knew at that point that, okay, I'm not like even though I definitely had my own faults for sure,
Mhm.
I wasn't intending on taking bulldozing the whole show, and I knew I had to go. It's like, let's talk and figure out if we have any chemistry to begin with.
Yeah. And that was
Because
like a welcome way to do that because I was nervous in general. I'd never done something like this before, and then, like, here you are, we didn't know we were working together, so it was a good idea to just kinda, like, get to know each other a little bit first.
yeah, I wanted to also like, and I was also gouging what I thought your strengths would be, right?
Mhm.
Because I wasn't, because again, I had my own, like, I've said this to you privately. I think I could have done a good show on my own, and you probably could have yourself. I'm not
They would have
not
both looked very different, but
yeah,
yes, they would have
yeah,
been good
yeah,
still.
yeah. So the thing of it was, though, is like, okay, let's but when we were talking and meeting, and we were just talking, it's like, does she have a personality? Yes. Okay, cool. That was
Is
huge.
that
It's like,
the wine and coffee sign? Was that
yeah,
what did it for you?
well, it wasn't that. What got me with you was,
That is half my personality,
yeah,
wine.
well, there's nothing wrong with being a wine and coffee person. There's nothing terribly wrong with that. I
Mhm.
just, and we can talk about wine and coffee and
This isn't
yours.
wine, by the way, this is water.
That's what you say. It could be
I'm
something
not
else.
that bad.
Not that bad. Later on, it's like, I
Yeah,
love.
you'll just see I'll progressively get less and
Yeah,
less eloquent.
yeah. It's like, I love you. Then all of a sudden, I hate you, and you just fall asleep right there. And it's like, well, I guess this interview is over. But no, it's one of those situations where, um, again, when we met, I was gauging, like, you have a personality, you were ambitious. The other thing I knew is, like, you wanted to prove yourself. I could sense that. It's like, okay, cool. And then
Mhm.
once we got over it, like, we got along, it's like, okay, what do you think about what you want to do with the show? I remember we talked for a little bit about some of our ideas of what we were told. What was your mission statement with the show? What did they tell you about it?
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I just remember feeling pretty lost because there was nothing to go off of. We
Mhm.
really That's something, like, I'll be very proud of going forward. Like, it's one thing to take over for a show, it's another to just make it from the ground up,
Oh
and
yeah.
without being content experts at all, right? So, I don't remember. I think the only thing they gave me was, like, 10 to 12 minutes and
Okay.
or 12 to 15 minutes and, like, immigration, and they were pretty heavy on the news part, which we don't do that much of. Like, it's maybe a third of our show.
Well, here's what they told me.
Yeah.
Lori told me it can be an interesting show. Make it interesting, right? We want headlines, yes, but they also wanted like interview. They told me interviews was going to be something to do, and they wanted other content as well. Like you can do other things. The goal is make the show engaging without like banking. Like I said, the headline news will talk about like that whole like brainstorm for me, like how to do that, because that was like when we that week was like an unexpected surprise. Like we have a lot of headlines. How the hell are we going to do this?
That was the immigration minister announcement, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was that.
That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. So like that we'll get to that, but yeah, like I watched their content previously. We're not gonna, again, no bearing anybody. Not everybody's cut out to be in front of the camera.
Right.
Oh my god.
That's reassuring though. You're like nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, kind of. So one of the guests I interviewed, her name is Nirja, Sarah's secret little stalker crush.
I love her. If you're watching Nirja, we're gonna be best friends. Not in a creepy way, okay?
But the thing was, Nirja was good. Like I watched some of her stuff, and she was really like, honestly, personal. If you weren't my co-host and I could get anybody in the immigration company to do it, it would be her. She'd be fine. I would have a blast with her, and I know I would.
She's fine.
Yeah, but some of them, so like the first week before I knew for sure who you were, I watched a couple things kind of just to see what they did before, and it was like, okay. And then when I realized at that moment, I have free reign because there's like
so much freedom. That was the other alluring thing too, right? Like blank slate, basically like do what you want. And it's still like that. Like we get to completely shape the content of the show. And I don't think they've ever been like, no, you know?
No, they haven't. I mean, they our former communications director, I'm just going to make a shout out to him. Andrew Lebowitz was super cool dude.
Love
he really was. But, he would beat the voice, or he would beat the adult in the room, especially with me. It's like, I can't say yes to that. Okay. I'd fight with him sometimes, but not, and he never took it personally because he realized what I was doing. He was just like, I'm going for the show. And so my favorite thing was, we'll talk about the headline show right now. When I told him about our problem, he was like, okay, show me what you mean. And when he saw it, it's like, no, you're exactly right. I see what you were going for here. So we'll. And that's one thing I will say about the company. They've been very supportive in terms of letting us build it however we want to build it. And there's a template now. Like there's a template we can always do. Like I said, there may come a day, and again, I'm open about this. I don't think they want to get rid of me, but I also realize there may come a day where we part ways. It's just, that's business, right? So whoever steps in to replace me can take the template I've built and go from there. Or, I mean, the other thing too, we might as well just say this now. Quietly speaking, like so Sarah's moving up in the world, so there's going to come a point at some point down the road she is going to disappear from the show. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yes. But here's the thing, folks. If I do leave, you can come back and take over and keep it going, right? They have somebody now that they can go to, right? So, and that's good. Like I honestly, like I said, and I've said this also privately, I'll say this publicly, like I do hope wherever you go next in the company, you're still doing stuff with the show in some capacity, because it makes sense, I think. But we'll see how it all goes in the next few weeks. But that's the thing. So let's see here. Let's talk about. So that's how you got the job. This is what we name and get a little bit of idea. So you feel free to bury me or build me up however you want to. So what's the biggest thing you've learned from me, and what's the biggest thing you don't want to be like me in that regard? You can go nuts on this. Go nuts on this.
Professionally speaking?
Yes, totally professionally.
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot.
I am.
There's a lot in both categories, actually. Which is, good.
No,
I'm gonna just say the first things that are coming to my mind. They may not be the biggest, but one thing, actually they're the same things. Okay. Your confidence level. The good thing about it is that I have noticed, especially in a room full of men, and this is a new thing that I've noticed because I've not been in the professional world long, because I had my son a couple months after I graduated, so I hadn't had a chance. Anyway, is that like if you don't have confidence and if you don't speak up for yourself and if you literally don't interrupt people sometimes, then no one's going to listen to you and your good ideas will be missed. And that's like a really important thing. And something I have noticed particularly with my male employee or cohort, like I'm not an interrupting type person, but you sometimes have to be, And then the other thing is sometimes it's good to let your achievements speak for themselves and let your your strengths speak for themselves because they're there, but they speak louder when people notice them for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a delicate balance, though.
It
It
is.
is. It is such a delicate balance because I didn't get this confident when I started. Like I like very like. This is gonna make me sound so fucking old. When I ended up
That's a
working
whole other
for.
conversation.
Yeah, it's another conversation. We how you can make fun of me. Like, again, we got 45 more minutes. You at least. So I mean, you got free reign to wherever we want to go. But one of the things I've learned because of my experiences as a creative was that if you don't speak up, things just get slid under the radar that shouldn't be. And if they fester, they cause problems. That's something I've learned the hard way. Right. So I learned that that confident, that squeaky wheel gets the oil thing is very true. There's an ego. Your ego to some degree protects you that way. On the flip side, right? And I try. I really do try. I balance the fact that my shit does stink sometimes, and I'm open enough and honest enough to acknowledge that, right? And there's a really tricky line on that.
I would say that you and I tend to the opposite sides, which is why sometimes we it doesn't work because I think your default might be to go stronger on the ego and my default is to go less on the ego, right? So it's just a disparity that shows up sometimes. I think that's just our personality types.
Yeah, and there's things we can learn from each other that way too. Sometimes being humble is actually a great thing. And like I said, internally, the one thing I do think I do a good job with on that is I'm always grateful. Like I'm genuinely always grateful. That doesn't mean there aren't other things I can't work on because certainly I can.
You're also good at acknowledging when I'm better at something than you are. Like just today when we were talking about the next show, like it's usually clear when one of us is excited about the content or has great ideas. Like for you with the headline shows, this is the newsroom edition of our show. That was all you. It was a great idea. It was the it's beat out now by the last interviews, but like it was the highest viewed show. And then, this week though, you were like, okay, clearly this is more you, so I'll take a step back, which is, that's important to be able to do.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No, like you didn't. So, ladies and gentlemen, so we do a meeting every Friday. Sometime on Friday, we meet up and we just talk. We go over headlines. If there's a common theme to them, we kind of try to think of a show. If I have an interview or she has a good idea, we talk. We kind of do back and forth about this. This week, I've been busy and abandoned as a freelancer, so I haven't had the headspace to properly give the show justice. Fortunately, Miss Sarah here has got plenty of good ideas for this. So this one, she takes the lead, and I'm just going to be the pretty one this week. Just so I'm good.
Well, when I fangirl, and I fell down a rabbit hole. I'm not going to mention names because that might be weird in case we actually talk to him, or her. I fangirled pretty hard on their background.
But that's the cool thing about being like, this is why I do interviews though. Yeah. That's why actually it's a big reason why I interviewed somebody that used to do music management for Motorhead and James Brown. It's like, that's fucking cool. How did I get that opportunity? Right? It's just like, and everybody's got like these. Everybody, doesn't matter who they are, they have these really fascinating stories of where they come from, what they want. And human beings doing human being stuff is pretty awesome as a general rule of thumb. And that's why I love doing interviews. And when you look up people, you get to know people. It's always amazing, which is why my last interview kind of hurt my soul a little bit with how that finally all turned out.
Yeah. And, by the way, that is probably not the time to say it. This is what we talk, but that special announcement to get more interviewees has been sent. And I asked your last interviewee if she was okay with me promoting that video, and she was like, absolutely. She picked the first one, not the second one. So
no, absolutely, because the first one, the first one was better, and we're not gonna go too many details. The second part of that interview was we'll just leave it at that. It was a challenging week, and it was I asked for a big solid from my co-host here. I listen, we have the plan B, please help me. And Lord knows I didn't actually, she had already done it, but she was like, oh, I love you so very much.
I just talked for a while. That's all I did.
But that was,
worked out.
Like, worked out. Like sometimes when you do a show, like again, when you're doing a show like this, I basically don't give a shit. There's something we don't want to talk about, like, or you don't want in the audio, for example. Like, you'll ask me, I'll take it out. It's not a big deal. But this case was like, okay, well, this is awkward. Let's just come up with a plan B just in case. And we had a good one, I thought, all things considered. It was just so it worked out. I mean, there's that one question that didn't make the air. I'm always going to be a little choked up. It didn't, because it was my favorite. I like it when people come out and it was like, oh, why?
It's important for this kind of show too, because sometimes we do our best, but sometimes concepts in immigration
is dry.
I try, but ooh.
Well, so folks, the myconsultant.ca show we do, that's the show we do, is, and by its nature, it does have headlines, but it's also an education show. Like, I actually think it's an education with news flavorings. That's how I see it, right? So we're educating people about Canadian immigration, and that's cool. I don't mind it. And sometimes the concepts, like, I actually enjoy learning about the Atlantic immigration program.
I've learned so much from doing this.
So it's a cool thing. But every once in a while, here's the part. Here's something we always do: PNP draws. They're important, but they are.
There's numbers.
There's a lot of numbers. Lots and lots and lots of numbers.
But people love their PNP draws, man. That's the they want them.
Yeah, I mean, next week's show we're doing one anyway because it needs to be there. It's just part of the gig. So So work-related talk. So what's been your favorite episode so far?
I think so. There's like my favorite segment that I did, and then there's like my favorite show. I would say my favorite segment was the RNIPs. That was the one where I did the Rural Northern Immigration pilot program, and so I like listed a bunch of them. I made my own graphic. I don't try that hard anymore, especially now that I have merged my two jobs into one job. Don't do that anymore. But I was eager and I was doing that, and then I took unpaid footage of Moose Jaw, where I live now, and I'm glad I did it. But because it led to being paid to do that for another episode. But that was my favorite for me. And I think honestly earlier on, our back and forth, it wasn't better, but it was just fresher because we hadn't talked about where we were from and the pandemic and like just that kind of stuff. It was more like organic. Now we're kind of like, okay, what do we talk about for the last couple minutes?
we still have that occasionally. Like it really, on that one, folks, we try to keep the content that we're doing that episode relevant to what we're talking about. Right.
But also personable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to spoil it. Next week, we're doing Black History. We
already spoiled it. We put it in the outro.
Yeah. So yeah, we're doing a Black History episode. So that one's interesting because again, just on a personal level, it hits us both differently in different ways, and I expect the back and forth at the end of that will be interesting depending upon all the content we do. Like that's next week's episode, but I don't expect it to not be interesting. All right. The week after, if it's a headline news show or if it's a PNP extravaganza, that's when it gets tricky because it's like, yeah. So that's the thing. We are a professional show, and I know everybody listening to this episode, for me, it's shocking that I can be a professional, but it's actually true.
I get the professional side of you, really?
Oh, God. Yes.
The hell's the other side like? Oh no.
This is the other side.
This is the same thing.
Almost. I give. Again, I'm a lot more blunt in this episode than I can be on there. You get behind the scenes, I'm blunt, but also the other thing is you respect that. That's the one thing. I would not. I've always been honest with you, and I think that what was important, the biggest two things important to me for your end, you made sure this felt like your show, that you had as much a part of it as I did, and that I was always honest with you.
Well, I think that the reason we can be professional but also personable on air is because between takes, we're not. We're just
we goof off.
Like I said, you could end my career if you really wanted to with the footage you have. I let go of censoring myself a long time ago. So, it makes for good on-air chemistry.
Well, yeah. I still there's still the footage. There's a blooper special with me. I did the ET phone home thing.
I love that thing. I've watched it several times. Sometimes when I need a laugh, I just skip to it. I'm like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah. My favorite's the last one on that.
The chunky news, right?
Yeah. No, it cracked me up because it's also something that this is you when you're really into something, I can tell. Like there's like you were having a blast.
I don't know what I was on that day.
But it was just like you were having fun. And I could tell you were having a blast. And that particular episode, folks, we screwed up a lot.
Which one was it?
Do you remember? Was like episode 3 or 4. I remember that. It was early. Yeah.
It was early? Yeah, well, because back in the day before this job, I use my husband's in the military, as you know, and they have affordable daycare, but only for a couple hours. So we always had to film, and you're an hour behind me. So we always had to film in the morning and drop him off. We have a couple of hours, gonna squeeze it all in, and then I pick him up. Otherwise, there'd be a little dude walking in the background. So
it's okay. I've had this show where a baby has held me hostage. It was fun. I interviewed an author. Her name was Madeline Dale. Her 3-year-old came up and just he took over the show completely. Yeah, no, it's actually one of my most popular.
I'm gonna go find that. Yeah, because kids, babies, and dogs. I got both. So let me know if you want extra.
It's totally.
Get them here.
It's okay. I again, just one of those things. I just grow with the flow. I don't get flustered about that, right? I only really get annoyed, like I said, if I feel like people really are wasting my time. That drives me nuts. Like that's a personal pet peeve. It's like, I hate passive aggressiveness too, and that I actually have charged more as a freelancer if I'm dealing with a passive aggressive client. I'm serious. I do. I add an asshole tax. I really do. I hate it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing, right? This you gotta do what you love to do at the end of the day. This is the truth. And if I love something, I'm going to protect it as much as I can. So that doesn't mean that I'm not going to be dealing with certain people sometimes. No job's perfect, right? But that doesn't mean I can't make more money from it.
Sure.
Right?
Also, just the price of making your passion your job. There's going to be some I had one of my favorite English professors in my 4th year in my bachelor's at U of T. he was so fun and like just a really cool guy. And he recommended to all of us, like getting at that point in university doing English. Obviously, we all loved reading, and writing growing up. And a lot of us wanted to be writers and write things that were nothing like what we were studying. But he was like, if you go on, especially to do like a master's in English, always have a book going, even with all of the readings you have to do. Always have a book going that's just for you. It can be trash. It can be anything you want to keep your love for reading alive, to keep your remind you why you're doing it, or else it can be anything can become work, even your passions if you let it.
There's a point where work is okay. I think a little work is okay. There's a discipline.
Hey, I love work, but that's my hobby.
Work is my drug, ladies and gentlemen. Not the vodka in there, but the
I don't know.
This isn't no. She's not
this is paid sponsorship.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. I kind of see. It's all good. It's all good.
Starbucks tumbler. Not the first time I've done that either.
No, actually, you know what? So the headline episode we talked about, she actually did it. It was actually
a Starbucks mug too. I am working for Starbucks. You just don't know.
Yeah. Yes. No. I no. So yes. So this might be too old for you. This might be. Did you ever see Foamy? No. The cartoon. Oh, see. So there's an old like episode where it talks about the Starbucks people being secretly in a cult, and this angry squirrel looking for a coffee. It's hilarious. Squirrel is onto us, right? It was one of those like little moments where you just see it and you go, it was funny as hell, right? It was like, no, are you sure? Did they tell you that?
I think, isn't it kind of like being crazy? Like, you don't know if you are, right? Do people willingly join cults, or do they like join really interesting close-knit groups where you talk about weird stuff and sell your soul? It's not a cult.
So, okay, a little person, like both my parents got involved in cults when they were
young. Wow.
Okay. So I know the mentality.
So did they know, or did they?
You don't like none of these like things that look like cults that seem like cults. They don't start out. They very rarely start off like cults. To be very honest with you, like like just religious background, like Christianity. Like there's a lot of places that start off these little churches, right? And then they build it. You're building a church. You're building a congregation. You're building a family, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. Makes sense, right? So then what happens? What can happen though along the way is no one's perfect, and people can overstep their bounds, their boundaries
all the time in authority positions.
Yeah. So once it becomes a certain mentality is accepted, right, for whatever the reason, it can very quickly fall into those patterns. Very often, though, they start off. A lot of cults start off in an innocent place, and on top of that, I don't know what your whole thing on the gifts of the Spirit are. Sometimes you see the more and more miracles there than you actually do in a proper church. So it makes it, that's part of the reason it's so compelling. There is something to kind of building something grassroots, but like anything else, it can become insidious. And the big thing is you sell people on an outcome. For example, let's say,
it's a pyramid scheme.
It can be. Sometimes it can be. I've seen that variation of it, but sometimes what it is okay, if I can sell you on an idea, even if it's not true, if I sell you on an idea and you believe it, it can happen to anybody, right? And that's the other thing too, right? That's the thing that makes it.
I'm pretty sure as a Christian, like everybody thinks the denominations that they are not are the cults. You know what I mean?
It depends. Like it depends, right? I'm certain of them are better about than others. There's some that are
the
freaking hardcore.
It's the cult word gets tossed around. A lot in church.
It does. It really does. But what it is when you sell people on an idea and they believe it and they buy it. This can happen in not just in churches, in any form of
Oh
life.
yeah, I could go on
Right. And,
forever.
right. So you got to be careful about that. So one of the things I've tried to adjust is don't fall in love with an outcome. As long as you
Mhm.
don't fall in love with an outcome, you can be open-minded to the possibility that you're wrong, or you can
Or
still believe it.
a person, you know what I mean? Because real like beliefs of faith goes beyond the charisma of one individual. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's a big thing again in a lot of like churches where you have a really and I don't like I am a Christian. I'm not knocking
No,
churches. It's just something I notice as a Christian sometimes, you know, we're all people, even Christians. We're all flawed. It happens, but sometimes you'll have like because I come from a Pentecostal background. Although I'm not like now, I would say I'm non-denominational. Actually, that in it of itself is a denomination. So I'm
yes, it is.
just Christian, okay? But have,
Yes.
like especially in like Pentecostal type areas where everybody's super personable and stuff, you get like these really charismatic pastors, and it's great. But sometimes people start just kind of like going straight to that person rather than like remembering that there's like a whole Bible and like God and such. You know what I mean?
It's
They
a
fall in love with the person, the
it's an
vessel.
interesting it's an interesting trap because
Mhm.
like I don't know what kind of like music you're into, but you ever go to a concert and you see a band playing, I've seen it where people really get into the person and the music they're playing. If
Yeah, it's like
someone has a
worship
certain
kind of.
yeah, well, anyone with charisma can do that, right?
Yeah,
Anyone that right, anyone can. It's not
Lord.
even it's not a terrible thing. Like anyone with charisma is capable of doing that. And when you realize that people are going to be drawn to you, and you're human, right? It talk about that little earlier thing, that ego thing is there, but there's always a little bit of that wants to be stroked,
Mhm.
right? That's a huge ego stroke when someone comes to you and goes, "Hey, I really dug what you said. I'm really inspired by you. I'm really this." And suddenly, like, it feels good,
Mhm.
right? You did something good, and we all need a little affirmations here and there that
Yeah.
what we're doing is right. So it's not like a bad thing, but it can like again that belief that my shit don't stink. I never will believe that. I am definitely capable of fucking up, and I do it all the time, right?
Mhm.
And that's something I do keep in the back of my head because we're all fallible, but it's easy to fall into those traps. And once you do, you might not even realize you crossed that line for a while too.
Mhm.
And then, but again, the longer, the deeper you go, eventually it becomes undeniable. It's the elephant in the room. And like I said, for charismatic people, it's a real that is their struggle when they're leading people because yeah, I need some information that I'm doing the right thing myself because I don't know if what I'm doing really matters.
Mhm.
But at the same time, there's a point. It's like, well, if they all say I'm awesome, you can buy into your own bullshit, and that's when you become a problem.
I would not want to occupy a position like that. I always thought as a kid that I wanted to be, I didn't know what, but the boss of something. Like I didn't know what. I just want to be the boss. But now that I know more so what, CEOs really do, which is not much, like I don't well, it's true. As soon as you get into management and the higher you go in management, like especially if you're passionate about the thing you're managing, it sucks because you don't get to do it anymore. It's like with my husband, he's trained to be a pilot, but it's the military, so pilot is captain. Oh, crap, I don't want to mess this up on air. Well, basically, there's a lot of other things above that.
Yes.
The higher and higher you go, after like 2 rungs, you're not even flying planes anymore. It's
No,
like,
no.
did you become a pilot to sit at a desk? No. Like, I like what I do. I don't want to be the boss of it because then I'm just telling people what to do and I don't actually get to do it
So,
anymore.
so I got some bad news for you. This is the bad news. This is why I work for myself. This is why I went freelance. This is why I went freelance. See,
Yeah.
uh, you're the kind of person that, and again, I've worked with you. I can say this. You're the kind of person that will put everything they got into it. You're competent.
Mhm.
Minimum, you're competent. Sometimes you're awesome, right? Minimum, though, you're competent, right? So you put your effort in, you put your due diligence in. So you're going to eventually attract
Mhm.
people that are, holy shit, she's good at what she does. That's going to happen. They're going to give you responsibilities. And
Yeah.
you, being who you are going to take it on because you're going to look at it as a challenge, at least at first.
Yeah.
right? That's just what's going to happen to you, and that's not in itself a bad thing. Management, a good manager is an excellent problem solver.
Mhm.
And even though you don't get to necessarily do that thing you really, really want to do all the time, you do have the ability to impact others to let them do their thing. And that can be very rewarding in and of itself. If you're a
Mhm.
good manager, if you're a piece of
Mhm.
shit, oh God, you suck, right? But it's right, especially middle management is the shit sandwich you want to avoid at absolutely all costs. Because no matter what you do there, you're making somebody mad. You gotta live with it, but that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
But you're a problem solver. Like you care. You would lead a team fairly well, I think. You know, again, maybe a touch more assertion. Like again, learning from me that touch bit of more of assertion. You
Mhm.
have that nailed down. You'll be an excellent teacher, advisor, manager, like whatever you choose to want to do. You'd be great at it. And I do see you at some point down the road climbing, whether it's here or somewhere else, you're going to climb that ladder if that's what you want to do.
Mhm.
Right. I think it's inevitable. You're good at what you do. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's really kind. And I'm not saying I wouldn't want that either, because I do enjoy that a lot too. And like there's so many bad leaders out there, and you want to contribute, to the positive ones. But yeah, I actually, in taking both of these jobs, the show and then the communications that I'm doing now, they're showing me what I didn't know that I liked and what I thought I liked but don't, and it's like it sounds like it would be scary to me to be like, oh, my career trajectory might change a bit, but it's actually kind of exciting because I'm just learning what like makes me happy
Yeah.
and what kind of doesn't, like I didn't know that I would be bothered by leaving the show, but I wanted to stay because I really enjoyed the free reign, and I enjoy making my little curriculum, and the research, and that's just going to inform my future career choices.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, again, making my own decisions, this is an open door for me to do other
Yeah.
things as well. Like I said, we'll see what happens when my contract comes up this year, where we go. Right. But I mean, and by the way, to the company listening to this, no, I'm not saying I'm going to leave. I'm just simply saying it's going to be interesting where I'm going to be,
I'll just link
because
this to everybody in the company on Monday. Okay.
yeah, just go right ahead. It doesn't bother me one little bit, right? I'm pretty open, and so here's the other thing too. And this is something I've learned: if you're
Mhm.
open and honest about your stuff, you get away with everything. I'm not
Mhm.
even kidding. Like, yeah, I said things on my previous like day job that most people go, "Why are you saying this?"
Mhm.
Right? And it's because they know where I stand. They're not gonna question anything I do, right? They're just gonna let me do it now. And now, if I ever wanted, now this is just me being a terrible human being. If I want to actually get away with anything, I can now, because like I've been open about my
Yeah.
intentions.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, right? It's I've learned that I can be open and honest, and in fact, sometimes you get even more respect for that than trying to keep it all bubbled on the inside.
Oh yeah.
There's
It's a big lesson I've learned recently too.
yeah. So I mean, and that's it. Like you get that. Like that's the thing. Like one of my biggest mistakes when I was younger was I let certain things fester the way in a way that was unhealthy. And
Yeah.
while I definitely felt justified in some of my feelings, I was also wrong. I should
Mhm.
have been a lot more open about some things sooner. It might have changed things. Then again, it might not have. Who
Mhm.
knows? But looking back, I wish I'd been more open about some things.
Mhm.
So now I just go the other way. It's like I've just fuck it. I'm too old. I'm too old to think about this shit. I'm just gonna be me, and if you like me, great. If
Oh
you
boy.
don't,
Well, there's a lot to be said about taking someone at face value. I think that's like a huge issue for people these days. And like
mhm,
for me, I always thought that if I did bottle things up and not be completely honest when I should be, I was helping. I was doing that other person a favor because I wasn't creating conflict and I'm always scared to overshare, so I undershare. Like I don't want to cross a line and then regret it. I'd rather just not say something. But it's actually not being selfless, because especially if it has to do with a relationship that you want to keep going, like a family member or
Yep.
something, you're not going to cut ties with them. So it is going to come up eventually. And then, you can't just blow your top off at somebody for something that doesn't, require that much emotion because you decided to just sit on it for
Yeah.
your whole life. It's a hard transition to make when you're not used to that. And I hate conflict. Oh my gosh, I hate it. But it's not the selfless thing to do. It's actually more selfless to just be like, this is what it is, especially from like my perspective. You know what I mean?
I had the nature of love. This is a kind of look at it. It's not when we're nice to each other, it's when we can call each other an asshole and not hate each other, right? And that sounds really like simplistic, but I don't mind when we disagree. I don't mind when we have a difference of opinion. What I do mind is, okay, tell me about it. And see, help me understand. Because if I understand, I still might not agree with you completely, but I'll respect where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And because I care about you, I'm going to take it into account. And I'm going to make my own decisions, but I'm also going to have faith that you're going to respect that too. Right?
Oh yeah. The nicer you are to someone, usually the less you really, really know them, because you're nice to strangers and then you're an asshole to your best friends and your
do you have siblings? Yes.
I have a sister who I have been subtweeting a little bit. Don't watch this, Victoria. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, she's gorgeous and she's charismatic and really manipulative, and I love her. She's my best friend, but she's the worst, but she's my best friend. So
she's it's like you can suck. You're gonna take people out to dry sometimes, but I love you anyway, and that's okay. I get it. No, I totally get it. But those are the best relationships, right? But you're still nice. Again, we're not being mean to each other unnecessarily all the time. We pick on each other, like I said. You pick on me with cupcakes. I pick on you with a certain province you love.
They pick on me like,
yeah. Yeah. Whatever. It's all right. But the thing is, right? I can tease you, right? But I'm also, again, I respect you, and that's the real secret too, right? I'm not being mean to you just for the sake of being mean to you. I'm picking on you because I like you, but I'm also respecting you at the same time. If I didn't do that, then there's a problem, and then you need like to judo chop me in the throat or something. So it's like, I can't breathe. What did I do that for? What did I do that for? Right? It's okay. Right? It's okay. Like it's like I said, my shit doesn't my shit stinks sometimes. I'm a big enough man to acknowledge that. So, but that's it, right? That's really the whole secret to any relationship, good, bad, or indifferent. If you're honest and clear with your intentions, people respect that.
Yeah, I come from, oddly enough, I am a communicator by degree, but I come from a family of non-communicators. They don't say shit, okay? And it's terrible because, like, you can't get past anything if you're not gonna do that. It stunts the growth of any relationship. So it's like it's something I've always liked to do, although not with conflict, but it's something I'm learning again, like that I have to do because that's how your relationships die.
Sometimes conflict's necessary. Sometimes
it is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yep. Sometimes, not every time, but sometimes.
And not like losing your shit, but
no. It's not. You don't need to lose your shit. That happens. Now, sometimes it's also kind of necessary. My father's relationship and mine has evolved to a point now where we can both call each other an asshole on a regular basis now when we do it. We're at a different phase. Like when I was a kid, he raised me, took care of me, He was my, and he still is on some levels. He always will be my hero. But
No.
oh yeah, absolutely. He was there for me
Sweet.
everywhere I went. He was the constant. I'm always gonna love him for that, because there's not too many other things in my life that have been constant. I've always traveled around, moved around. He's always there, and he still is always there, and that's the best thing about him. But sometimes he's full of shit, and when you're an adult, you can call your parents on when they're full of shit.
You can. It's
right. You can call them on
weird,
it.
but you can. Yeah.
Yeah. No. But that's part of a healthy relationship too, as an adult. Sometimes we'll get hot. No one will cool down. We'll talk, and it's over. That's it, right? Now, I'm at that point where I'm comfortable enough to stand up to him. Right?
Yeah.
I'm comfortable enough to stand up to him, but he needs that. Oddly enough, he respects me more for that, right? And he'll give what he gets, and vice versa, and that's fine. That's just where our relationship is now, right? But here's the thing about him that I will always respect. He never knowingly crosses boundaries. Like, he never knowingly does that. Once he recognizes it, like, he stays away from it. But right, again, that's just the nature of our relationship, where it's evolved to. And as you get older, you'll be bolder with your parents. Trust me on this.
I better be. Well, yeah, like, that's unfortunately my they'll never see this. My dad and Steve's mom are the same type of personality, and they raised us with this idea, and it still holds true apparently, even though we have a child and are married. But they are ultimate authority. You never question them. I don't care how old you get, you're the kid, kind of thing, right? And so therefore, like, I can do no wrong, and you don't get to, right? So unfortunately, they are also severely flawed people. So there's a lot you could say about the way that they do things. Yeah. So, and you become so much more aware of your parents' failings when you become a parent.
Yes.
You become, you really sympathize and empathize with them, because you're like, wait, I'm a parent now, but I'm like a kid kind of to me, and I didn't change, but I am responsible for this human being. But then at the same time, in a lot of other ways, I'm like, oh, like, you did that, I would never do that to my kid.
Yeah. No.
What's wrong with you?
What I recognized how human my parents was when I actually made some of their same mistakes. That's when because it puts you in a very unique spot. You understand them, right? You just learn, and you understand them in that moment. Now, this doesn't mean what you did was great, because it wasn't for me, but I understood it.
Yeah.
And I understood how it could happen. It actually made me more forgiving to both of them, actually.
Yeah.
Right? Because I understood. Right? Now, that doesn't mean, and Lord knows, if I do have kids someday, I'm going to make lots of mistakes with that kid, and I'm going to see myself a little bit, and I'll be like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? What did I do? Right? But at the same time, right? So I'm always aware that I will make my own mistakes. What I try, and what I hope I do, this is my sincere hope if I do ever have kids, is I do better than, I don't make the same mistakes, all of the same mistakes my parents did. I'll make some, because that, again, like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but I don't make entirely the same ones. I do my own things, and and then you realize that your parents are people.
Well,
and like everybody, and they just do the best they can.
That's what it is. Like, for Steven and I, my husband, we talked a lot about our parents, because we love them, they're in our lives, but I would venture to say they are really flawed people as far as parents go. And we're very nice, generous children who are forgiving of them, but all the stuff that happens in our childhood, and the things we think about our parents, we're like, oh my gosh, like, what if we do that with our kids? What if we do this? What if I do that? And the thing that stuck out to both of us was that, like, we wouldn't have cared if they made mistakes, if they just had the balls to come to us later and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that, right? But because they were both so authoritative and couldn't do that because it would be leveling with us too much, that never happened. But we're like, you know what? It's not about never making mistakes because we can't sign up for that. That's just not going to happen. We just always have to respect our children enough to own up to those mistakes. Like that's the best we can do, really. Because other than that, there's going to be mistakes. And when I say mistakes, there's like mistakes and then there's other stuff. But
no, I would just go so far as to say this. Sometimes the parent doesn't know. They just don't. It's a really I can't speak for your parents. I'm not trying to, but I also just realized too, like we all are a little batshit. At the end of the day, we're all a little crazy and we all see the world a certain way. It blinds us sometimes to the things we do. Mm-hmm. Right. So your kid might come up to you someday and say, you made this mistake, and you might not be able to see it. Not excusing everything, but what I am saying is it's one of those limitation things, right? And recognizing your limitations as well as your parents and their grandparents. My grandmother had a big part of raising me. I love her to death. One of the most, like, she's got a lot of love in her heart, but she also can't forgive anybody. Right? And it's not in her nature. It just isn't. She looks at me and goes, you have such a good heart in comparison because you will forget people. It's like, yeah. But I still got a little bit of that Mediterranean. I don't let it go right away. I don't. I mean, it does take me a little time to work it out of my system.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I now.
Sarcasm.
Yes. Really? Not at all. I would not. No, this is a million.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. But once it's talked about and really just the issues are dealt with, it's easier for me just to let it go. But I realize like where I struggle sometimes is, right, I can hold on to a hurt and let it, again, this is just a personal flaw and I can let it fester. Mm-hmm. The way out is forgiveness. Now, again, personal character limitation. If I don't understand what's going on, if I don't understand it, it's harder for me to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? It just is. Right? I don't have that ability to just forgive you magically. I have to understand what the hell is going on. But once I do, I can let it go. My grandmother can't. My dad can. But again, it's levels. The grandmother, unforgivable. Dad, very forgiving, but take some time. I take less time, but I still have that issue, right? And hopefully if I do have kids, they're a little more forgiving than I am. I hope, So
are kids in the future? Are they part of the future plan?
I would like that. that. So again, personal parent brain damage thing. I didn't date for a long time just based on I grew up and I saw nothing but divorces around me forever. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard, really. Like when I get into a relationship, it's just gonna fail. Mm-hmm. And then I met someone and I fell in love with them. It's like, holy crap, this could be an amazing, wonderful thing. Mm-hmm. Now I'm in this weird position. I'm not against it, but I'm also not. I'm in that I would like it, but I'm also okay if I don't get it either. Mm-hmm. Right? I've hit that point in my life where I'm okay with who I am. I like the person I am. I'm I'm very confident in the person I am. Mm-hmm. And I'm accepting the fact that some people are going to dig it and some people aren't. And there are going to be times in my life where I'm going to be very solitary. And there's going to be times in my life where I'm surrounded by people. Now, hopefully, maybe I find somebody half as crazy as me. That might happen. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Right? I'm open to it, but I'm also not expecting it either. It's not like I'm in love with that outcome. I hope, but I'm also not. I'm happy either way, if that makes sense.
That's a good place to be in, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's see here. There's one last thing I kind of want to talk about. Miss, you said you did your English degree. What did you want to do with it? Like, what was your master plan?
Oh my gosh. Well, my least favorite thing was when somebody would ask me, usually older generation, parents' generation, somebody would ask me, "Oh, what are you studying in school?" And I'd say English. They're like, "Oh, you want to be a teacher?" Literally every person just jumps to that conclusion. Like the only thing you can do with an English degree is become a teacher, which why a teacher? I don't know, but it drove me insane. Not that teachers are great occupation. I wanted to be a teacher for a long time when I was a kid, and I've done a lot of teaching things in the past. But actually, when I was applying to school in high school, I applied to just 2 programs. The journalism program at Ryerson, which was really competitive, and I wasn't even sure if I wanted it, but I applied to that. And then the much more generic English degree at U of T. And I always wanted to go to U of T. My dad went to U of T. One of my flaws is I'm very pretentious sometimes, and I love some pretension. So that's the closest I could get to not traveling outside of Canada. So anyway, I got accepted to both, and I ended up doing English because I like journalism. It's not ever been my passion. It's not been the thing that I want to do. I grew up loving stories, writing them and reading them. I wrote the weirdest crap as a kid, but I'm sure it was garbage, but I loved it. And yeah, I've always wanted to be a writer. It's always been kind of a secret, not that secret, but I've never adamantly gone after it. Like I've always gone around it. Like I've done a lot of academic writing. I've like dabbled in other stuff, but I've never like gone for, the thing that I want to do with writing. But also I do like communications. That's what I did after my English degree. Like I like the practical side of writing. I like writing in many forms. My passion will always be creative writing, always. And the books I got to read in my bachelor degree, I miss it so much. Like
what'd you read?
Oh, well, yeah, but the thing is I'm still lazy, right? Like Dostoevsky is rough, okay? He is amazing, but on your own, I'm not reading that. Are you kidding me? Like I was having a really hard time getting through it, but I had to, and I was so glad that I did. I was kind of made to because it's part of the class, and they look great on a shelf. Like I said, pretension. I have 2 Shakespeare anthologies. They're the same things. Why do I have 2? I don't know. One was on sale. That's why. But I have 2 on my bookshelf. Anyway, so yeah, it's just like I love older books more than anything. And I've always kind of found an escape there as a kid, and writing more so of an escape as an adult. But yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask this: what's your favorite Shakespeare play?
What's my favorite Shakespeare play? I don't want to be basic, but probably Hamlet. I do like the tragedies. They're good. We did like a rapid fire Shakespeare course in high school where we like read through, we watched plays but followed through in our anthologies. So I've read a lot of plays, although they're kind of all just like one Shakespeare blob in my head, like Titus Andronicus. That stuff's messed up, but it was really interesting to read. Not interesting to watch. Very gory. Yeah. The King Henry's, Richard third, really interesting. Great villain. Love it. Love the Tudors, the Tudor dynasty. Super cool. Yeah, I guess that's not an answer. I just named like half of Shakespeare's works.
My favorite's Macbeth.
I never read it. Isn't that embarrassing?
Yeah, I read it in high school. That was my high school. But I learned how to critically analyze fiction with Macbeth. Those 3 witches are such bastardly villains. They're the real villains. They're the real villains of that play. They're actually the real villains of that play because they manipulated everything. Just because they were insulted, I thought that was wow. No, it's true. It's true. The first, you see it, the first 5 pages, you read it, and you're like, once I saw it, it was like, okay, this is how it works. They played these two. And that's what they did. They played those 2, and Macbeth was very much a pawn. And you could see it. It was just like, that was the real tragedy, is even though he becomes king, if you really look at everything he did and everything that led up, he was a pawn. And tragically, not even for a noble purpose. It was just a whim, which is just like, Ooh, right. Othello's really cool.
Othello's
Uh,
good.
yeah, Othello's really, really good. I don't mind. I like, although I'm not crazy about the play. I love some of the quotes in it, and that's King Lear. King Lear has some really,
Yeah,
really wicked lines. Wicked
it's
lines.
dark, but it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wicked, but it's not like Macbeth's my favorite because it's how I talk. Hamlet bored me when I realized something though. He
Hmm.
doesn't do anything but the mousetrap. Everything else is a reaction, not an action. The only time he actually makes an action in the whole play is when he does the play within the play. So, yeah,
That's Ophelia, right? Ophelia is that one, right?
no,
His love interest?
Ophelia.
No,
What?
it's not Ophelia. His love interest. What's her name?
Yeah, it might be Ophelia. Yeah, might be. It's been a while.
She's amazing. And she's got
Yeah,
a small role, but I was really drawn to her role.
yeah. So, but that's the only thing I like. I realized that Hamlet himself was boring, right?
Hmm.
I realized that Hamlet himself was boring. I was much more of a fan of the thing about Macbeth is, yeah, he's a villain and he's a pawn, but he did shit. Hamlet is a bit of a whiny bitch, and that's what I realized.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
he's a whiny bitch, and it's just like, other old stuff I like. I'm reading Alice in Wonderland a lot, obviously for my
Hmm.
creative projects. So that's a big one. Les Miserables is a book I really enjoy.
Hmm.
Very cool, old book that kind of fits today.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's my kind of stuff. So I guess the last thing, and then we'll wrap up because I know you do have a bedtime because you're old and stuff,
I'm
right?
older than you. We already
That's
know
right.
that.
Yes, that's right. I'm still immature as fuck, and that's just the way it's going to be.
You're probably gonna
But
die anyway, so it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, but life's too short, right? Maybe I'll have kids. Maybe I'll become an adult. Maybe. I
Maybe.
probably never sleep again though. That's probably what'll happen to me when I have a kid.
No,
Like
you
you
won't.
don't,
Never.
you never sleep again.
No.
Everything just goes away, and that's why you used to go to
You
sleep
never
early.
catch up. Like the sleep deficit is so real. Like
Yeah, yeah,
National
yeah.
Bank of Canada debt. You're never gonna catch up on that sleep. And then you have another one. And then you're like,
Are you gonna have another kid?
oh yeah. Oh, I think so.
Oh
Don't tell
yeah,
Steven, but yeah. He'll
yeah,
find
yeah.
out one day.
Oh God. So one day I'm just gonna see at the day job. Say, Sarah, you look different. It's like, yep, I'm gonna have another one. It's like, okay.
Does Steven know? Yeah.
No, he knew he has no hair now. He pulled it. Oh no,
Yeah.
he's laughing and crying. He's going between the two, but that's okay. Nah.
Mhm.
I somehow I do see a little girl in your future. I'm not gonna lie. I do see it.
That'd be crazy. That'd be cool. Steven wanted a girl first. I wanted a
Yeah.
boy. We wanted little Sarah and little Steven. I wanted little Steven. He wanted little Sarah, which is sweet. But I won. So
For now, you get another one. He's
Mhm.
even he might get his wish. And if he
Right.
does, I'm just gonna warn you. If you do have a daughter, she'll own him.
Oh, I know. Biggest
Yeah.
sucker in the world.
Yes. No, she'll own him. She'll
Whatever
own
she
him.
wants. Ugh.
Yeah. You got to
No.
deal with that. But that's okay. Your son's gonna own you always a little bit. That's
Oh, I
just
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's
He's a
how it should
mama's
be.
boy for
Yeah.
sure. Oh man, Steven will get him, and I'll from in the morning, and I'll walk by because when I wake up in the morning, I'm like coffee machine, and so I'm going there, and he'll literally be like, "Ugh," away from his father towards me, about to fall on the ground. And then Steven's
Please,
like,
I want my
seriously,
mommy.
yeah.
Yeah. I just can't wait till we do a film episode when Steven is like a little older and he just decides to sit on your lap. I actually interviewed a writer that actually just his kid came. So the kid just sat here for an hour. Right? We called it that.
David doesn't sit anywhere for an hour, but yeah, that's sweet.
You might be surprised. It might change at some point. If it does, it does.
That'd be
But
nice.
the last question I was going to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So you still plan on writing fiction someday?
Yes. My writing style and the type of writing I like to do now has vastly changed from what it was when I went into my bachelor's degree. It's funny because you can't get out of an English major without having to do a course or two in poetry. And I hated poetry. I hated it. And I find myself writing in that form more than anything else these days, maybe because of the brevity. I don't have time. I don't know, but that's something. And I also was like really committed to like long form novels, doing
Okay.
something like that. And this is again because of university, like that's just you start with short stories, like a lot of people like to publish short stories, and so I got used to that sort of form, and now again I'm finding myself writing short stories. So I could see myself doing like a collection or having a couple in, some kind of journal. That would be really cool. I don't know if I have a book in me right now. I probably do, but I don't know what it is quite yet. I have a lot of smaller stories in me though that like I would love to get out.
If it makes you feel better, you're talking to someone that's written 5 epic poems. Not just a dud. Like
Nice.
it's
I
no,
love epic poems. My
no.
favorite.
My Alice in Wonderland stuff is all poetry.
Okay.
It's all poetry, and so is my so. This is I'll read this. This is a story how I accidentally got published traditionally. You want to hear it?
Mm-hmm.
So I come back from Arizona, got my ass kicked. My teeth here were pretty damaged, like horribly damaged. I had a very like one-on-one conversation with the shadow death. Kind of, it's part of the reason I'm so crazy is I got to see a little bit of that glimpse of my own mortality, and I was allowed to kind of come back. That's a story for another chat someday, but I wanted to get back into writing, and I did a poetry collection way back in 2005. It's not a short one. Best I could do at the time, proud of it, but it's out of print, and I want to stay there. It was definitely something I needed to do, but it's looking back, it's something that how do I put this? It was a learning step, and it doesn't really reflect the person I am now. And but anyway, and this was like the turning point of that. I wanted to write a longer poem. It was originally going to be a poetry collection like the first one. I wrote this longer poem, and it's about a slave boy in this like convoy or this like land, and he's watching this tower. He's looking out into the horizon, and his family's working for these dragons. So it's like a really fascinating little idea. I love the idea of like him wondering what's out there, what the world being bigger. There is more. That whole like it's actually very Christian grounded. There is more out there always. And I really liked that chapter, and I said, well, okay, what happens next? So chapter 2 I wrote, and he kills his dragon master and escapes into the wilderness. Okay, I cannot leave it there. His first night alone is chapter 3. It's still some of my favorite like writing ever. And then I'm like, okay, this is cool. Let's see where this goes. So I wrote chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, and I realized along the way that this was my poetry character. Fuck what I was thinking. This is better, right? I go to a comic shop. I see a friend of mine I used to work at Kinko's draw stuff for a comic. See if we got to get her to do some illustrations. Florence Chen, who's awesome. She drew it. She drew some illustrations, did the cover. My plan was to do it on Smashwords. What ended up happening is someone bought it. It's someone I had interviewed a long time ago. She goes, hey, this is really cool. What are you going to do with this? And then what I just told you is what I told her. And then she goes to me, oh, that's really cool. Well, I just did a deal with Ingram Spark. I'm starting a publishing house. I'll publish it. And that's how you get published traditionally by accident. I did 3 books for the company. It was a great experience. I learned a lot. The moral, I guess the moral of the story on this is, just do the things you feel inside to do, and good things will come about. I do hope during this time, at some point, you take the opportunity and you write something in those lines and see where it leads you. Who knows? I might be talking like not only to possibly my future boss, but also possibly like a future superstar. Like, hey, thanks a lot for all this wonderful pep talk bullshit you did with me all these years ago. Some of it stuck, right?
Oh yeah, no, you're totally right. Like I one of those people who was like so scared of failing, I didn't really give it a full try. But like every time that I have really given it a try, it's worked out. So like in university in my 3rd year, there was a creative writing course being taught by Robert McGill, and you had to apply, with the thing and everything like that. And there were only 20 spots and, a lot of applications. And I found out about it like 3 days before the deadline. And I was like, it's U of T. It's like they're fancy. It's not going to work. And I've never done anything at all at that point with my own creative writing. I've never had any kind of validation for it. So I just did it. I just gave it a shot and I got in and I was shocked. Yeah, and it was such a great experience. It was just 20 of us and it was always in a workshop setting. So we would kind of have like a circular sort of style for the desks. And you only wrote 4 pieces, poetry or prose, throughout the year, but everybody wrote 4. So every week we would get like 5 or 6 pieces or whatever the math is, and then we would workshop them. We would edit them. We would talk about the things we liked and didn't like, and then you get 20 responses on your own writing, and it just produced really good writing. And then one of the stories I wrote that I was like super vulnerable with, I ended up submitting it to one of the student journals there, a really long-standing journal associated with Victoria College, and they also published it. It was just a student journal, but like none of that would have happened if I didn't just try, just like believe in myself a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this then: is it failure you fear, or success?
No, I think it is failure, because to me, I do believe that I am a good writer, but I liken it a lot to other art forms like singing and acting. There is no shortage of talent out there. And we all know that just because you are on TV or published does not mean you are talented. So there's a lot of luck involved. And it's also like, what is society wanting right now? Do they want to read, my type of stuff right now? Is there an audience for that right now? I don't know. Like, what's her face, the Twilight chick, what is it, Stephanie Meyer?
Yeah,
right? Like, it's like, there wasn't an audience and then there is, and now I don't really think there would be one right now. I don't know, but like there's all those factors, and it's like I don't want to think that my writing is not good enough because it didn't make it in a certain context. I do believe in myself, but I don't know if other people are going to recognize that, and that would be pretty crushing, I think.
I should send you the essay I'm writing tonight. Is how my failures. I'm doing it for particular how my failures have led to my successes. Because I've chased my dreams my whole life. I've been crushed brutally sometimes. Right? It's part of the process. But all my failures have led to successes. All of them in weird ways. Right? So can I give you a touch of advice?
I love your trepidation every time you ask. No, I actually enjoy it. Yes, you can.
Well, again, for those of us, actually, I'll explain this to the audience because this is fun. So for those of us with the audience, in the audience, all right. So we did have a little point in time where we got really frustrated with each other.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. When that happened on my end, I was trying to understand what was going on. I went to a professional friend of mine who's about her age, and I tried to figure out what was going on. And when we did have our little airing of dirty laundry, something she said verbatim literally came out of your mouth, and I was aware of this possibility that we needed to talk about it to actually get there, and that was this. The mansplaining problem, right? There is a part of that, and we talked about this off the air. So I'll just say part of that was me getting used to working with somebody because I haven't done it.
Yeah.
And that was part of the adjustment. The other part of it was figuring out where that line was. But when we talked, we just made it very clear. Just like you made it very clear what your boundaries were, and I've done my very best to respect them, right? Which is why you're like, there's always trepidation, but it's also done in such a way that you realize that even if you do say no, I'm not going to be bothered by it.
Right? I don't know why I enjoy the trepidation so much, but
because I'm having fun with it too. I am having a little fun with it too, right? I don't want you, again, one of those things we worked it out, but but literally the fact that you said what you said, I was not surprised, simply because it's like, okay, what's going on? And I explained the situation from my point of view, and it was the second thing out of her mouth. right? It was the second thing out of her mouth. The first thing she mentioned, we don't need to go in details. We talked about that too. It was like 1, 2, but the second thing, it's like on her end, your colleague, you're her coworker. You even though I know you don't mean it, you are mansplaining to her. And she explained why that was. Like, okay, she needs to tell you, but that right, so there you go. Anyways,
by the way, it meant a lot to me that once you wanted to understand what was going on, that you went so far as to go and reach out to another colleague to see if you could get clarity. That was really nice. Like, that meant a lot.
Yeah, well, because I had no fucking clue what was going on. Just one day
But you could have just not cared. You could have been like,
it almost got there. It almost got there. But again, I wanted to make it work and do everything I could to make it work. So I'm like, okay, there's things I'm not getting here. What am I missing? Now, like, and right, and like I said, she understood where I was coming from too. She's a friend. It's like, okay, I get it. You didn't mean to be this, but this is the line you kind of went through. But she also said, and the one thing she's got to tell you. Otherwise, it's just one of those things, one of those little hard and fast rules. And something we mentioned earlier, ladies and gentlemen, communication in any relationship is super important. The fact of the matter is,
us too. Yeah.
It includes us too. This is why she called me out. We called each other out on each other's shit when we had those issues. We moved on, right? Anyway, going back to what I was saying with the advice, and this is it. I wouldn't worry about any of that shit. If I'm going to be so. I asked of success and failure because they're essentially the same fear. They're just on two ends of the coin. The fear of failure is that you're going to be in the exact same spot if you do something. The fear of success is everything's going to change. Same coin. It's a fear of change both ways. It's just which end, heads or tails. Fear of failure is a scary thing because you wonder if what you do is really going to matter. Does it really fucking matter if I do it with all this talent out there is what you told me? The answer is yes, because there's only one you. What you bring
that too, sorry, is also a part of writing. There's a narcissism there that is intriguing to me, but also is hard for me to accept. I'm also kind of like, it's the same reason why I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel and I never have, because I'm like, I don't want to know what happens when I just dive into that level of narcissism.
Again, that's why I said it's fear of success, fear of failure is a fear of change at the end of the day. So what I'm going to say is, see, you mentioned this. You love writing. You love doing it. And again, you don't need to do a novel. You can do a story just for you that you go out there and put out there and read. And it doesn't matter. I take it from, again, my first Alice poem got nominated for an award. Didn't say it just happened. Take it from me. I've won awards with this podcast. That doesn't matter. Here's what matters. You do the thing that you feel inside that you need to do, right? It doesn't matter what. Your job is not to worry about the result. Your job is to go out there with whatever you choose to do in this life, whatever you decide you want to do you just do it with all your heart and with all you know at the time. And accept the fact that the paradox of success is that you can do everything right and still fail. That's a hard truth, but here's the thing. What I've learned doing my crazy little jaunt in life is this. Not everything I do is going to be that home run, right? But it's a swing at the bat, and the swing does count. The swing does count. Your job then, when you go take that swing at the bat, whatever you choose to do in this life, it doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if you want to write a cookbook about all your fucking cupcakes you tortured me with.
Oh my God.
Right. I don't care. Right.
Complex, I think.
Yes. It's in my next author.
Complex.
No. It's in my author bio, by the way. In my next author bio, I'm actually putting it as a co-host. His co-host tortures him with cupcakes because I take myself very seriously, as you can tell. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Your job is just to do the best you can with what you know how, and to put out the very best thing you possibly can, and just trust that it's going to work out, even if it doesn't. Look, it sucks when no one reads you shit. I know it is a thing, but it's important to get your shit out there because
Mm-hmm.
inevitably, here's the thing about today that's unique not in any other point in history. Your stuff that you do now matters later. You might not hit that hit with this story, but maybe your next one or your next one or your next one. And then people go like, oh my God, Sarah's awesome. What other stuff has she done? Holy shit, she's got this whole and it happens that way. That's what people, you mentioned this. You obsess over certain people at your day job. We're not going to name names because it gets really weird and stalker-esque. right. But that's what happens. It happens in every, like we get passionate over stuff. So my advice overall is this. If you feel the Bible verse, many are called, a few are chosen. My favorite, I go like this. Many are called, few choose. If you feel inside your heart you have something worth saying, you should just say it. And don't worry about who's going to listen to it. Just do everything you know how to do to get it out there. Whether you self-publish, whether you crowdfund, whether you go traditional, I don't care. You find what's right for you. You go out there, you do it. And that's enough. Like that is really enough. And I think we talked about that balance between confident and being humble. Okay. There is one downside. You might actually get a little bit more towards might go to my specter of the woods a little bit.
Become a monster like
that's you. Right. You might. But I think there's great esteem in achieving great things. You writing is something that really matters to you is a great thing. And never doubt that. It really is. If you feel, again, you don't need to be the biggest thing. Who cares? It doesn't need to be the biggest thing. It can be a tiny short story. It can be a poem. It doesn't fucking matter. Just do you. Be the best you. Make something wonderful and magical because you can. And I know you can because I work with you every freaking week. So, right? And that's the truth. Just have that, right? And don't worry so much about the outcome. Don't fall in love with it. Like, have hopes. But it's like what we did earlier today. Last thing we'll tell tales out of school. I told her, ask for this. She's like, I don't know. Just do it. Whatever. If they say no, at least you tried. So we got the yes.
Well, the first yes.
Yeah. Well, we said, hey, that's one more yes, and then that was anticipated to happen, right? So the second, we go see if we get the second yes, and if we get the second yes, awesome.
It's right? Really awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, it would be. But you put yourself in those positions and you let things happen. That's it. I know, and this sounds like really simple, stupid, because it's scary as fuck to put yourself out there, right? I'm just like on this show, I'm just really good at making an ass of myself. I did it for almost 90 minutes with you. I mean, I'm confident that way. That's how you learn. But that's it, right? That's what I want. Like, I hope at some point, again, maybe it isn't right now, but I hope at some point you do take that plunge. I think it would do you a world of good.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so how was it? Did you survived an interview with me? How was it?
I did, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think there are any career-crushing sentences.
No.
So that is
I was a good boy.
And this was water, as you.
I know. There was no slurring. There was no very bad karaoke attempts. Right? None of that stuff. You did a wonderful job, or you are a heavyweight, and I would just get taken to the.
I am, but that's not what happened here.
Oh man, it makes me just breaks me up there. Okay, so this is weird because I don't know what to plug with you. I mean, we can plug our show. But is there anything else?
I have a little plug.
Oh, cool. What do you want to plug?
Okay, so I don't know what it's going to be called yet, so I don't know how anybody would look at it. But I've been working with Ryerson University, my old university, where I got my master's. So there's this thing called CIRC, Migration and Integration. It's a research program running at Ryerson. It stands for Canadian Excellence Research Chair. So the CERC. It's federally funded programs for lots of different universities in Canada, each with a different focus based on the resources that school has. So, Ryerson's known for a lot of media related things and stuff like that. They've actually got a lot of things in the immigration sector. That's actually how I got to this area of, stuff with work. Anyway, so I applied to one of their smaller projects called the Stories Project. And it was about using writing to talk about our immigration stories and what contemporary Canadian identity looks like and what that means. So there's going to be an anthology published at the end of our project. We've all already written our pieces. I did 2 very short stories in mine. Yeah, so it'll be actually published. Yes, and it's I'm also going to be I'm pretty heavily working on a field notes section. So it's creative writing. It's also a lot of personal essays. People chose to do that, but it's still like a social science. We're still kind of treating it like research. So our field notes is our methodology section. There's also going to be like a pandemic diary section where we talk about how the pandemic affected us. Anyway, it's going to be really interesting if you're into social science or immigration or
personal
stories and Canada. So yeah.
Do you know what it's called? You know where I can find it right now? So
people can look at. I don't know. I don't know when it'll be published, but we're working on it, and it would be under like CERC Migration and Integration, which is at they have a website connected with Ryerson University, CERK.
So,
yeah.
So on a personal note, when this episode's over,
CERC. Sorry. Yes.
when this episode's over, when you find that, can you do me a favor and find that email and like that link and send it to me? So when I do the audio show, right, I can have a link to show people. But beyond that, well, folks, we have the myconsultant.ca show.
Yes. Plug that. Of course. Yeah.
I'm just doing that right now.
What are our views at?
Okay, so our current so this cool thing about building a show, folks, is you get to see kind of the updates as you go. So we have a 10K view from episode 11.
It was like 10.3 when I left.
It just might be. I'm not going in there personally because we're on the audio. So
yeah.
Our current episode is at 1.7K views, which
that was in a week's time. Not a week's time.
That's a day's time. That's a day's time.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this, folks, is our YouTube channel. This is the My Consultant YouTube channel. You can definitely go check it out. Note to selves, got to tell the boss lady they actually have a name. They can make their own name now instead of the actual link like this, which would be awesome, right? Things to bring up at the next meeting, I guess. But yeah, so it's hosted by Sarah and myself. We talk immigration. Sarah will do a concepts in immigration segment virtually every episode, but the headline episodes. And I usually do a variety of different things. This basically my interview schedule determines what I do in terms of segments. This week we're doing something a little different coming up. It's going to be Black History Month. And so we're both doing something a little different. We're actually switching positions a little bit. I normally do the profile of people. Sarah usually does a educational concept. It's going to flip a little bit, I think, this week because I'm going to be doing the educational concept. And Sarah's going to do it. What?
Because fangirl. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Her another one of her stalker crushes. You want to know who that is and what it is? You gotta go find out this Thursday.
Never gonna respond to that email now.
Yeah, no. Well, hey, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to deal with that. Okay.
It was a professional email. Okay, it wasn't a weird email.
There's one marriage proposal in there. I'm sure somewhere in there.
I kept it down to one. It's totally professional.
That's right. Do you have a website or a way people can actually find you specifically?
I don't think so.
Okay. That's right.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, folks, definitely check out our show. Give me 1 second here. I'm being a trained professional as we're wrapping this bad boy up. So this is my latest release. We're about to do this here. This is for folks watching and listening at home. This is Alice 1. This is my Alice in Wonderland and Greek mythology mashup. Alice is Pandora. Alice chases the Queen of Hearts over the edge of the world and ends up in the Greek underworld. There, to escape, she must play croquet against Jason of the Argonauts. In that maze in the underworld, Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun writing him.
I wanted to name my son Jason, but Steven said no. Come on.
Okay. He's the villain in this story, by the way.
Oops. Okay.
I made him a horrible monster because again, another conversation for next time. Jason was a horrible. He was a horrible person in a lot of ways. But along the way, Alice and Company face gods, monsters, and the most terrifying thing of all, themselves. It's available now. Go to Amazon. That's the Amazon link. You can go to .ca or wherever else you want to get that. Nice. Hit the like follow button on YouTube if you want to like and support the show. I'll be back next week. I don't know who my guest is Monday because unfortunately my Monday guest just bailed because of a funeral. Yeah, not knocking that at all. I'll figure somebody out between now and Monday. I'm certain. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. And I'll see you guys next time.